All right. Here we are. It's Wednesday, July 16th. How's everybody doing? How's Mr. Nate doing?
Oh, I was gonna say, does that include me? I'm doing
Mr. Nate
fine. I'm still coming off the high from G Fest from this past weekend, because boy howdy, that was the best G Fest I ever had. The busiest too,
Oh,
but the best.
that's good. Yeah, Lang's Comics, my local comic shop, had a booth there.
This past weekend?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So you were
So,
busy
I
too,
mean,
huh?
you go into their store, and their store has a kaiju section that's bigger than my bedroom.
Why haven't you taken me there?
You haven't been here since they opened up in the new building.
Oh, perhaps I should
They
remedy
opened up
that.
in March.
Yeah.
So otherwise, yeah. Um, the plan is to get you there next time you come up. So
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully I won't spend as much as I
but
did at G Fest.
anyway, so
I see
we
you got
both
into a
went.
fight with a weed. I see you got into a fight with a weed whacker. That beard
Yeah, I
has
saw your
seen
haul.
longer days.
Yep. So yeah, we both kind of harassed the movie theaters this weekend. I went and I actually saw Superman, and then that same day we went and saw Jurassic World because we weren't able to see it opening weekend because I was not around. But
Rebirth. Yeah, I still haven't gotten to
yeah, we
Rebirth.
went to both in one day.
Mm. I technically saw 7 movies
There are a couple
over
of things.
4 days.
Oh yeah, Eh, all at the theater or some at home.
Oh
Wow.
no, all
Oh,
in a
because
theater.
GFest did a lot of
Yeah.
showings. Yeah. Wow.
I have a
So
feeling there's a
Superman, and were the others
delay in
all
the.
cut?
I think there's a delay on our connection.
I think so too.
We'll just
Yeah.
have to work with it. We'll do it live.
Arr. All right. So, uh, yeah. So Superman, what were your thoughts? Just
Spoiler-free thoughts,
non-spoiler. We'll get to
or
the
is that
deeper discussion later.
we're jumping to that first. Oh yeah, I should know because we have an outline, I think. Anyway, this
Yes.
had a lot to live up to. It's
Yeah.
good luck trying to make a new Superman movie, especially these days. And I will admit, just to keep it quick,
Yeah.
I wasn't sure James Gunn was the right choice for this. I know he's trying to spearhead a new universe for DC, a new cinematic universe for DC, and all that. After
Yep.
I don't think the Snyderverse is really that's not the official term. It's the DCEU, DC extended
Right.
universe. But so there was a lot to live up to, and I had some misgivings going into the movie. I wasn't the biggest fan of the suit. It's not awful, but I'm glad that it has the trunks. That's nice. But just wasn't a big fan of the suit, and I wasn't sure how Cornsweet was going to do. David Cornsweet was going to do as Superman. There's all of these things. You know me. I'm a big Superman fan,
Yep.
and I have a particular set of expectations. And I am happy to say that the movie was good, but I hesitate to call it great. I'm still not 100% sold on James Gunn being the best choice for this, although I will admit he's using elements of the Silver Age of comics, which are well known for being particularly wacky. Looking at you, Crypto. So on paper, that sounds like a good fit for James Gunn with his style. If anyone here has seen Guardians of the Galaxy, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I would say it was good, but I don't think I would call it great. And there are a couple of big missteps I felt like were in the movie that hold it back, but those are spoilerific, so those will have to be saved. But I was overall pretty happy
All
with
right.
it.
That's good. I had a great time. I thought it was fun. I'm glad we're getting a version of crypto. We'll talk about that more later.
A version. This is
And
not his first time on the big screen, but it's his first time in live action.
yeah, yep. And I think, yeah, I was happy with it. So I might see it again if I can work it out. And I'm thinking about maybe doing a blog post about it in Faith, but I probably want to see it again before I do that. So yeah, that's my thoughts. So you mentioned G Fest. Is that your only like super recent con, or
That's the most, well, unless you count BotCon, which was last month.
okay? Give us a bit of a rundown of both.
Of both. So BotCon was held here in Fort Wayne. And I found out it's actually technically a native con. It started in the mid 90s in Fort Wayne, but then went away. Now it last couple of years it's been coming back. I went as an attendee last year to support the local con. And this year I decided, you know what, I'm going to try something different. I'm going to save a little bit of money and I'm going to volunteer for the con. Little did I know, I volunteered for 2 days. That's what I had available because it was the same weekend as Father's Day, which complicated some things.
Okay.
So the first day, I just had door duty, just made sure people didn't come in through a
Yeah,
door when they weren't
I've done that
supposed to.
before.
I helped with one of the games. That was about it. The second day was where the excitement was not expecting to get this. I
Right.
was named the handler for one of the celebrity guests. Now, mind you, she was probably the lowest, the lowest on the tier list of guests there. Her name was Jenny Chung.
Okay.
She was a script coordinator. That's her primary job, but through
Ah.
a funny set of
Okay.
circumstances, she was able to voice two characters in Transformers 1. She had one line as Chromia, which,
Oh.
if you've seen the movie, all it is she just yells, "Yeah!" because she wins a race in the movie. And then she had a handful of lines. Yeah. That's how and now I know there's a delay because that took like 2 seconds for you to react there.
Oh yeah,
And
it's been having issues. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's me or you at this point, but curse you, internet. But the other thing, this is was the big reason why she was there. She had a handful of lines as RC in that movie.
Oh,
True
okay.
confession time,
Yeah.
and I made sure not to mention this to her beforehand. I have not seen the movie. Yes, I know Nate Marchand hasn't seen the movie. He's a Transformers fan, but I thought the movie was going to be
Name
really stupid.
what's wrong with you?
Yeah, I thought judging by the trailers, I thought the movie was going to be really stupid and juvenile. And then it comes out, and I'm hearing it's not. They had the director of the movie there, who was very interesting to hear him talk about making the movie and all that. And it's like, okay, and everybody there was just gushing over it. So like, okay, I should probably remedy this. So after I was done with my work that day, because after I was done in the hall with Jenny, I did some odds and ends the rest of the evening, including supervising the game room. They had a tabletop game room there. Discovered that there is a Beast Wars Monopoly game that actually has unique rules that
Mhm.
take advantage of the fact that it's a Beast Wars game.
Yeah.
I was today years old when I found that out that day. But anyway, so I made sure to watch the movie after that. And I was like, yep, this is actually good. I'm sad that I didn't give this a chance in the theater, but I'm glad I watched it this time. And it was fun working with Jenny. She's like this little Korean girl who's only like up to here on me. She's really short. And she was really fun. I took care of all of her money and kept her entertained when there, if the case there wasn't anybody there to see her, which was not often. She was surprisingly popular, I have to say.
Yeah. Yep.
And and I had some break periods. I went to a few panels. I was there, including one Ginny was in, and got to talk to a few people. Got to interact with which one? Not Flint Dill. He was there. Dilly, I think is how it is actually. I said he was there. I got to talk with him, but I didn't get anything from him. But I did. What is his name? I wish I could remember. They had a couple of the writers from the G1 show and G.I. Joe, actually. So I got to talk with them, hang out with them a little bit. I talked with I can't remember his name either.
All
He's
right.
done he's a very prolific voice actor. One of the things he's most well known for is if you ever watch the Honest trailers, he's epic voice guy.
Okay. And G Fest. Tell us about G Fest.
How long do you want to be here? Because there's a lot to talk about.
Keep it short.
Yeah, again, I really know how
this
big
is just
delay
recent. This isn't the big discussion.
I was going to say,
discussion later.
Yeah, and now I'm really seeing how bad the delay is here, but we'll have to work with it. So it's just this past weekend. I have been going to G Fest every year. It's been held since 2017. Funny enough, I've been on at least one panel every year that I've gone. But that's a long, wacky story there. Like I said, this was my busiest year at G Fest. I was doing 9 hours of programming for G Fest this year between 4 panels and a writer's workshop.
Nice.
They started a new program this year where panelists could be compensated for their ticket. Here's the thing. I was a massive overachiever, and I feel like G-Fest owes me money at this point because I found out if you did one panel, just one, you got 50% off your ticket. If you did 2, you could come in for free. I'm like, 9 hours you got out of me. You should pay me money right now. I've given you so much. But regardless, I had a tremendous time. I did a panel I was part of the panel for the 60th anniversary of Gamera. I did a 50th anniversary panel with a couple of friends for Terror of Mechagodzilla. And I did a panel with my wonderful friend John LeMay called Ultraman Unmade. So we talked about Ultraman projects, both TV and movies that are either lost or they never got made. I really want to turn that into a book, and I might be talking with some people tomorrow to help make that happen. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And then we did the traditional writers panel, which has actually technically been passed to me and one other guy, my friend Danny, by the original founder, I guess you could say, of the panel, because he's wanting to kind of like retire from it, from being in charge of it. It was expanded to 2 hours instead of 1, and at the suggestion of the organizers, this was not our idea. At the suggestion of the organizers, we experimented this year where we basically got our own little room where we could do an instructional panel and then do a 4-hour workshop on Saturday where we would have people write stories and then get into critique groups. It was inspired by the modelers room that they have in there where people would come in with their supplies and they would start building stuff early on in the convention, get that done, and then put it up on display. So it was modeled after, no pun intended, it was modeled after that. We had no idea if this was going to work, but we did it anyway. And we ended up with 6 panelists for the Q&A and then to supervise the writers who were there. We broke everybody up into small groups, went around and shared stories and all that. I am happy to report that there were a couple of stories that came out of my group. A woman named Jen who had what to us sounded like a great first chapter for a new novel that I thought, like, this is such an interesting premise. I really want to see where this is going. Here's your assignment. Get this done by next year and send it to my friend Chris Nigro, who runs Wild Hut Press, he was one of the other panelists. I was like, and then send it to him and he'll publish it for it. In fact, I took her and this other guy after we were done and said, Chris, you need to talk to them. They've got material for you. The other guy, his name was Josh, wrote an absolutely brilliant short story that we just were all blown away by. And I took him, I was like, he's like, Chris, he's got a short story that you need to read. And then I told him, I said, Josh, here's your assignment. Send your story to Chris right now. Email it right now.
Yeah.
By Monday.
Grab that talent and get them working.
Yeah. By Monday, Chris was messaging me saying that story is going to be published in an anthology that he's going to be putting out very, very soon. He's also going to have one of my stories in it too, but I was like, this guy's getting added in there. Like, yes. I was very proud. Otherwise, I was.
Okay, so you kind of.
Yes.
So you've been in and out. So you said that he put that short story in an anthology, or he started an anthology.
Chris has several anthologies of short stories, and
yeah. So did that short story end up like? Did he say, "Hey, I have one perfect for this," or is he starting one with
Oh, Chris
you
already
mentioned an
has.
anthology, but you're going in and out.
Hold on. Okay, hopefully that will fix it.
Yeah, we lost you for a minute there.
That's because that's okay. Out, hoping that would fix things. Anyway, Chris already has anthologies that he's about to publish, and he's going to add Josh's story to that anthology.
Good. That's great.
Yeah. Otherwise, I was.
So
what?
Recent.
Never mind. We can move on.
Okay, so now it's my turn to share some of my recent stuff. All right. So the past 2 weekends I've had shows. It started with JFAX, which is the Anime and Japanese Entertainment Convention in Grand Rapids, Michigan. You came one year for that, Nate. You did like 4 panels at it.
Yeah.
And we at a table in Artist Alley, I did Nerd Chapel Sunday morning, which was pretty well attended for being a 9 o'clock time slot, which I'm fine with because I like time slots that allow vendors to be able to attend the service. So there was about 13 of us at Nerd Chapel. I had some good conversations at the table. One guy came and on Sunday asked some very pointed questions about, if Jesus is the only way, what about the guy in Timbuktu who has no internet access? How is Jesus reaching him? And some questions about translation. And so we talked about some of those things. And some ladies from my church did the music for the service and did a great job with that. And it was just really fun. Also, this was cool. JFAX did a cosplay contest for vendors this year. So it was on Saturday, and it was specifically for vendors to participate in a cosplay contest. And there were no rules at all. So if you had a costume you bought, you could enter it. If you had one you made, you could enter it. They just wanted to increase the opportunity for vendors to be able to participate in stuff. So Kate and I entered with our Jurassic Park costumes as a group. We did not place, but it was nice to be part of something that was part of the larger community. So it was cool to see them do it. And two ladies who did the lead characters from Wicked got first place.
Of course.
So, but JFX was good. I met a guy there who had and this is so at both JFX and Audio Feed, which was a music festival that I was at last weekend, or not this past weekend, but the weekend right before it. Both times I found guys wearing Mothman T-shirts, and both times was right at my table. It came past my table, and so I got to have conversations with both. One of the guys said he doesn't think he ever wants to have any kind of an encounter with cryptids at all. And I just shared, and said, hey, weeks ago I was in my room and for some reason felt like I was going to have an experience like that at some point. And I just prayed and said, God, if that's from you, great. Let it happen. Prepare me for it. If it's not from you, then let it fall away. And then the guy at Audio Feed, we just talked for a while. He said he had an experience where he saw something that was like a dog man. It was walking all fours instead of just the hind legs. But it was so huge that he could not explain. He just didn't know what it was. He said he didn't even know how to explain what he saw. He also has interviewed a guy who had a Bigfoot experience years ago, and the guy had not even told his wife about it. It happened when he was 16 years old, and decades later, he had still not told his wife about it because he was so scared of people's responses. So that was interesting to talk to people about cryptid stuff over both events. Audio Feed is a music festival. I normally don't do music festivals, but my brother Darren goes to a lot and had been asking me for years. And it was pretty fun. The tent there sponsored by a seminary, and I got to participate in this really fun theater where we took The Lion, the Witch of the Wardrobe, and over the course of 3 days, we read the whole book about a little over an hour each day. And the first day I read for Mr. Tumnus. The other 2 days I got to read for Aslan. So that was pretty cool. I also went to a session that they did on the life of Dietrich Bonhoeffer. And that was good. There was also a session on Christ figures in films that I went to. So it was a good time overall. I sold more books at Audio Feed than I did at JFAX. I only sold one book all of JFAX, which you don't sell a ton of books at anime cons. I don't find people looking for books at anime cons, but there to be the presence, to be there just as a presence for Christ in a friendly way. And then sold 8 books at Audio Feed and made connections with a couple of magazines that will likely do some sort of a feature with Nerd Chapel, and met a lot of cool people who were just really excited to see something like Nerd Chapel. So it was a good times both times. So
I'm continually surprised.
That's what I've done.
Okay. I was saying I'm continually surprised by people finding out about ministries that do this sort of stuff. I would have thought with how prevalent they seem to have become that they would have had some familiarity with organizations like yours.
Yeah. Well, and part of that is because very few churches ever take time to recognize that what we're doing is going on. It's extremely rare for any of our ministries to get even a few minutes on a Sunday morning at a church. Very rare that any churches will have us come and do an event with them, whether it be a game night or anything else. It's very rare, really, that churches will do anything to connect with any of our groups at all. They might provide support for some things, but doing a public connection is pretty rare. Aside from maybe letting us use the building for something, and so, and none of the big magazines. I've never seen the big Christian media groups cover anything, any of the nerd ministries at all. So that's probably part of the reason why. But yeah, we'll see. This could be some good things. One of the groups was just called Christian Magazine. The other group had Empty Grave Parade was their name.
Empty
And
Grape
they only put out one
Parade?
issue so far. They're kind of a empty grave parade.
Grave. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, it's definitely a lag between us today. They were really cool. They have one issue so far, and I really liked it. They're doing kind of this thing where they work with people who are producing items, and you order an item through their website, and you get a free magazine with it. So if you order a T-shirt, you get a free magazine with the T-shirt. If you order, they have a guy doing pedals for guitars because they connect a lot with alternative music scene. And so you order one of his pedals through their site, and you get a free magazine. So it's kind of a different way of going about things, but would still be good. And yeah, lots of new connections, and we'll see. Also, the guy next to me was there with his Christian faith-based sci-fi and fantasy books. And so he and I talked for a while. He asked me some questions about doing ministry at cons, and it was a good time. So, yeah. So, what books? Well, first, what we already mentioned that we've both seen Superman. What are some other media you've enjoyed? Books, movies, video games, board games.
Let's see. What is my current? Well, I'm not currently playing it, although there is an expansion coming out for it very soon. But probably the latest big game that I finished is RoboCop Rogue City on the PlayStation
was it
5.
fun?
Yeah, it's pretty fun. It's a first person shooter where you play as RoboCop, obviously, and it actually has the original actor voicing RoboCop, which is pretty cool. Takes place actually between movies 2 and 3 because it's making reference to the first 2 movies and is basically setting up what happens in 3. It's been a wonderful experience. Admittedly, it is by no means a perfect game. It's got some issues with the graphics. They load a little too slow between cutscenes.
Okay.
So sometimes they look a little weird, and it's got some glitches in it that on I think 2 or 3 occasions forced me to have to backtrack a little bit because it broke the game. In one instance, I was supposed to I was in this big room and I had to clear out all the enemies, and I cleared out all the enemies, and then it was supposed to trigger an NPC to come in and open the door to let me into the next room to progress, and he wouldn't trigger. Got all the enemies out of the room, but he wouldn't move. No matter what I would do. So I ended up having to backtrack, go through, do that section again, and then he actually came through and let me through. The funny thing is, once I finished the game and started doing some more stuff with the leveling up and upgrading my RoboCop's gun and everything, I basically turned him. I basically got God mode. Because I could just run around with the gun on full auto and never have to reload. So this isn't fair.
Oh.
This is just not fair. I'm just making everybody look like chumps.
Yeah.
You have to fight the Ed 209 in this, that big mech that stomps around in the movie. Yeah, the first time I played through, he was genuinely terrifying, and I had to play smart to actually beat him, and he could easily slaughter me. Yeah, the second time I played through, once I had all these upgrades, I would actually just kill him in about 10 seconds. And I made the final boss look like a joke. It was ridiculous. And I even jacked the difficulty level up just to give myself a little extra challenge. Didn't work. So that would probably be that. As for TV, I have been finishing my watch through on the original G.I. Joe. I have the complete original series on DVD. Yeah, I have the complete original series on DVD. But For me, I have to include the Deke Show, even though people don't really like it. Unfortunately, I don't have those on DVD. Not yet, anyway. And forgive me, Eric, I do not have G.I. Joe the movie on Blu-ray yet. It is on my list. But I've watched that on Tubi.
Yeah.
And then there's the goofy thing. The actual
Okay.
Deke G.I. Joe show is on Tubi, but they don't have the 5-parter that started it. And I don't know why. So I had to watch that on
The Weather Machine?
YouTube. What?
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, so I had to watch that on YouTube and start watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Deke Show it's not great.
Who's your favorite Joe?
If you would ask Little Nate, it would have been Flint. I think I'm a little more partial to Duke now.
I was thinking you'd say Duke.
Yeah.
For me, it's always been Flint and Lady J.
And Snake Eyes.
Kind of
Snake Eyes
both
is
of them.
cool. Yeah. And Snake Eyes is cool.
So, well, yeah, you got to have Snake Eyes.
Yeah, you have to have Snake Eyes. But yeah, so I've been watching that, and that's kind of, like I said, that's kind of the current thing I'm watching. I've got several other shows that I have watched a little bit of. But there's the new show that I am currently watching is Ultraman Omega. That's coming out. Just started a few weeks ago. The 3rd episode will be out this Friday night. It is it's the current Ultraman show. And what's cool about this, Eric, because you and I grew up at a time where if we wanted to get anything Japanese, we'd have to wait like a year or at the very least 6 months or something for them to import the show and edit it, censor it, dub it, blah, 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 put it out, print it and put it on discs or whatever, put it on TV, whatever. We now live in an age where we can basically get it almost instantaneously. So Tsuburaya Productions, the Japanese studio that makes Ultraman, they for several years now, I think almost a decade, to be honest, they've been doing simulcasts for their shows. So after it airs in Japan, it immediately gets put on that current episode immediately gets put on their YouTube channel with subtitles and in some cases dubs for everybody else to watch. So that they've been doing that with Omega, which, like I said, is the current show, and it's been pretty good so far. It's shaking up the formula for Ultraman, and I like it. Now, if we're talking about books, I'll bring a few up here. I'm about to start these, although this one I've already read before, but I've not had this edition, and I'm writing an essay
before you go on
this.
to books.
Yes.
Yeah, before you go on, let me talk about my recent shows.
Okay.
That way we're not, we'll do some back and forth. So in terms of new shows, my mom and I have been watching Destination X, which is a show where you've got guys are in a bus or a whole group in a bus, and they're traveling around Europe, but the windows are all blacked out and they don't know where they're going, and they're getting clues as they go along, and they have to try and guess where they are. And the person who in the map group puts themselves the furthest away gets eliminated each week. So there's games they play to it to try and get power in the group to be able to influence who goes in the map room and who doesn't. Because of my interest in traveling, I've been watching that with my mom. And I've also been watching the current Lego Masters season. So they did a Batman week. They started off with Star Wars. And Lego Batman had some cool stuff. Each group had a different screen version. And the group that had the Batman Begins universe did this really good semi-truck that really would have fit well in the movies. And I've also been watching the new they brought back the librarians. So we have it's a different cast, but we now have a current librarian show to watch. So my mom and I have been watching that, and we've been
How
watching
many of those
Babylon
shows
5.
have they had?
The librarians.
Yes.
So librarians, they've had the 3 movies that started, and they've had one series. This is only the second television series.
Okay.
So they had 4 seasons of the first one, and now it's a group that's actually based in Europe instead of in America. And they are traveling around. They've got a thing on a string with a map of the city that finds magical issues going on, and they go out and they deal with it. This week's episode, they had to deal with the vampire situation. And it was a little different before because the vampire kind of tricked one of them, and yeah, it was an interesting episode. I don't know what my favorite of the current run is, but that's what I've been watching lately for TV. And I watched Taven. So I went back and rewatched Taven because I had not seen the last season of it. And now I'm watching rewatching Sanctuary. So I'm kind of, yeah, it's summer, so I have time to watch things.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Am I good to talk about books?
Books.
Okay. So as I was saying,
Yep.
I've read
talk
this
about
before.
Books, and then I'll talk about books.
Yeah. As I said before, I've
Okay.
read this before, but I've not read this edition, and I am writing an essay on it that I need to get done by tomorrow.
Okay.
Have you seen this, Eric?
That does look familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's
This
go.
is a
See if I can make
hardback
it full screen here.
omnibus. Yeah. Okay. This is a hardback omnibus of the 24-issue Godzilla comic published by Marvel in the late 70s. So I've been flipping through this and as reminders to, as I've been writing this essay. And then here's the next book that I will be reading for research purposes for my podcast, The Monster Island Film Vault. I had a patron request an episode on a movie called The Last Dinosaur from the late 70s. And to my surprise, I found out that there was an entire book on the making of this movie made. So I purchased it for research purposes. So I'll be curious to see. Yeah, I'll be curious to see what insights it has to offer. This was made by the same studio that makes Ultraman. And speaking of Ultraman, while I was at G-Fest, they were promoting a new, I don't know if it's young adult or middle grade, but they were promoting a new book series. The author was there. And when she found out I was a podcaster and I was interested in interviewing her on the podcast, she gave me a free signed copy of book 1 that just came out, The Ultra Academy. And the first book of which is called Beware the Baleful Boltan, which is this bug-looking guy on here. Yeah. So these are Ultraman books that star kids who are part of an academy. Obviously, that's why it's called the Ultra Academy. So, yeah, the author, like I said, was a very nice lady. And I've flipped through the book. It looks highly entertaining. And she had
they didn't name it Ultraman. They didn't name it Ultraman Academy and then just have a bunch of experts in with nobody being trained.
Because that would just totally make sense. So she left me a nice little note here.
Yeah.
On the inside. I think, honestly, it's not just a straight book. There's things like actual illustrations with newspaper headlines and stuff like that. Just before we went on the air.
Cool.
It reminds me a little bit of a comic. Right before we went on the air and I was flipping through it, they have they have fake reviews in the back written by the monsters and the aliens that Ultraman fights, and they're really funny. Like, one says 1.5 stars from a monster named Gomora, and it says, "This book is propaganda." And my favorite one is a 1-star review from Red King, and it says, "Fake news."
You know, reviews can be really good or really bad.
Well, like I said, those are all
And
fake reviews written by the
yeah,
monsters.
I know that's yeah.
Yeah.
I was trying to, but yeah,
Yeah.
my comedic attempt was poor.
The lag
Uh,
doesn't help.
well, don't you have your arch rivals review all of your work?
He has in the past.
No? All right. Yeah. So so what I've been reading lately, I finished this book which took me way too long to read. This year was my second time reading Cost of Discipleship. Let me go to so Dietrich Bonhoeffer, Cost of Discipleship. It's one of the reasons I went to the seminar on Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Great book. I read it the second time because pretty soon when you and I start a certain book, he goes through the large passage of scripture that you and I will be working with for that next book we write for the 42 series. Big sermon done by Jesus. Lots of people talk about it. But yeah, so we go to some other things. So, very good book. Like I said, it was my second time reading it. Right now, the two books I'm currently reading, The Magician's Nephew, which I started before and not finished for some reason. I think my reading habit just got off base. But yeah,
What order? What order
week
are
and a
you
half ago, I
reading
was
the
at the Reader's
Narnia?
Theater with Line with Wardrobe, and I'm like, you know what? It's about time I. Well, so I was inspired by doing Line Wits and Wardrobe last time, and so I just grabbed this because it was the preamble to it, and so I'm like, okay, I'll start with this, and I might just go because I've got one of those where it gives you the order that he ordered, and I think it's based off the timeline order. The Horse and His Boy will probably be next, so I'm just gonna read them in the order that has them in, and it's the order I've always seen them in. So, but yeah, and our Bales has a Superman devotional book that I've been reading. So this has been excellent. I tried to get Scott onto our broadcast today, and he was unable to come because he had some other things going on. But that's been really good too. So, all right. So we're gonna do a short little devotional here with the book of James. I've been reading through James quite a bit this year. I basically every month I'm reading through the book of James, doing a portion each day, and then if I'm done from it, I have time until the next month, so I'll read other passages, and then the next month pick it up again. So every month this year, by the end of the year, I will have read through James 12 times. We're going to be in chapter 4 briefly, and chapter 4 he looks at all of the problems we have, all the quarrels and fights. And for the remedy, in verse 7, he gives us the remedy. Submit yourselves then to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Come near to God, and he will come near to you. And I saw a video by a friend of ours. We met down in Texas when we went to the Nerd Culture Ministry Summit named Lake Sice. He actually lives very close to where I live, like 30 or 40 minutes from where I live. But in Texas. So, pointed me that video. There's very specific orders. First, then you resist the devil, and trying to resist before you submit to God doesn't work as well. because you're not being empowered by God in the same way, because you are still you haven't made the connection with God, or you haven't entrusted yourself to him yet. And the devil really isn't scared of us, but he is scared of God. So when we first submit ourselves to God and make that connection, and then we resist, that is what gets it for us. That is what helps us to resist and enables us to resist. And then after you submitted God and you've resisted, then God is available to you. And even as soon as you submit yourself, he's always available to us. But through the submitting and through the resisting, God starts working, and then he works with us, and he draws near to us and works with us as we try and deal with all of this stuff. So that's our devotional thought for today, for this live. And now we get to talk about books that we've been working on. So this is the cover for a book you and I both have chapters in, or devotionals in. Finding God in Anime, compiled by Moriah Jane and Laura Grace. I have not met either of them in person that I know of.
That you know of.
But they are the compilers for the series. You're about to say something?
I said that you know of. I was repeating what you said.
Yeah. Yep. So, but so I have 3 entries in it. You have 2 entries?
I have 2. I submitted 3, but they didn't take my 3rd.
Well, that's okay.
Apparently Death Note is a little too dark for them.
Well, maybe you'll use it for something else in the future.
I love Death Note, though. If you want a prime example of of the corruption of sin, watch Death Note. The whole show is predicated on somebody continually making bad choices.
Well, yeah, but tell us about the entries you did put in. Just a little bit about each.
Yeah. The other 2 that I had in there, one was centered on an episode of Science Ninja Team Gatchaman, which was an early 70s superhero anime.
Oh.
It's considered something of a classic. Actually, it is very much a classic of anime. And I have 0.01 doubt, percent doubt, that it inspired Super Sentai, which eventually became Power Rangers, because good Lord, the Power Rangers aesthetic and tropes are all over this thing. So I did one on that one. It was about dedication, because in this episode, it's a weird episode, admittedly. It is a really weird episode.
Sometimes those are the best episodes,
Yeah,
though.
sometimes they are. It's a bizarre episode. I don't think any ill intention was meant in this. It could just be a little bit of cultural ignorance, but also the Japanese are very fond of using Christian imagery and Christianity as a source for their stories, even if they don't fully understand it. I mean, it's no different than us Americans. Sometimes we get a little carried away with what we use, but the story's centered around, I believe, my guess would be she's supposed to be Catholic, the way she talked. So this girl, teenage girl, she's working on a new face on this takes place in a fictionalized world where there's these fictionalized versions of existing countries. They just tweak the name slightly. Hi, Kate.
Kate says it's a great show.
Oh, Gotchaman? Oh, yeah. But anyway, she's working on a new face that's going up on what's ostensibly Mount Rushmore. It's Jesus, which is already kind of strange, admittedly. So there's that going on. The bad guys, meanwhile, are using this Mount Rushmore as their new headquarters to make a giant mecha that can cover itself in lava that is also modeled after Jesus. And then it just goes crazy from there. Yeah, but I wrote about how this girl was very dedicated to the work she was doing on this statue. She was doing it because it was something that her father started and she wanted to finish. And once the episode is done, spoiler warning, that it gets wrecked and she has to start over. And she says, you know what? I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then my other one was for a much more recent anime that's also on brand for the sorts of things I podcast about, Gamera Rebirth, which was on Netflix. And if you know anything about Gamera, one of his little nicknames is Friend to All Children. And for those who don't know, Gamera is a giant flying saber-toothed turtle.
Yep.
Let that sink
Makes
in
perfect
for a second.
sense.
It makes absolutely sense. It's the most logical thing I've ever seen. What are you talking about? So they did an anime reboot for Gamera. He hasn't been in a movie in almost 20 years at this point. And the show is a kind of like a Stranger Things sort of style show where we have they're like middle school kids and they get roped into some crazy shenanigans and Gamera is helping them out all throughout. And they start finding out things that the adults don't know, or the adults know, but they're actually the villains and things like that. So, So I wrote about how I used the passage from Timothy where Paul tells Timothy, don't let anybody look down on you just because you're young.
Yep.
And, it was reminding people, it's like, just because you're young doesn't mean you don't have anything to offer. And the so-called, wise people in the church shouldn't just disregard what you have to say just because they think you haven't lived enough life to have learned anything.
Right.
You are valuable. You probably have things to learn, but any adult, if they're honest, will admit that they don't know everything either, and they still have things to learn. Any adult who wants to brush off young people and say you know nothing is got some serious problems with pride, in my opinion. So that's what I use that show and how the kids know things the adults don't, and that they have to use that to help Gamera save the world. I use that as an illustration of that particular passage.
Very good. So I have 3 entries in it. One of them is based off of One Piece, which I've been watching through over very, very slowly. Every once in a while, I'll put it on, watch a few episodes, And
you'll be watching that for the rest of your life,
maybe, or maybe a
long show.
There's a storyline where they're in Sky Island, so they're in islands up in the sky. And there's this being named Emerald.
Really? I thought they were at the bottom of the ocean with a name like that.
Yeah, I know, right? Or maybe on Mars. They're up there, and this guy named Enro has claimed what he calls a title god, and a few of them are sent to a particular temple on an island, basically for what they're told to be sacrificed. And so I look at the whole concept of sacrificing that, God never intended for human sacrifice. He used the sacrifice of his son to bring about redemption. But even in Jeremiah at one point says, hey, you guys are participating in child sacrifice. That's not something God ever intended, not something that ever entered his mind. And so we just look at that. Yes, there is a sense of sacrifice needed in the Christian life, but it's not something like that. You're not going about human sacrifice like that. The other thing I did was another kaiju one, Godzilla Singular Point. I look at how they handle prophecy in that and compare that with how we as the modern church tend to handle prophecy. And just a reminder that, hey, you know what, prophecy is good to study, important to learn. But remember, you're doing it so that you can handle things better today and to inspire us to be getting better today in preparation for what's coming. We're not doing it thinking that, if we get perfectly knowledgeable on this, then something better will happen, or that, no, we're just being aware that things are going to be rough for a while, so that we can handle ourselves better around other people and treat people well, with the understanding that it's not always easy. Then the third one was Ray Rooney Kenshin, and
One of
Ray
my
Rooney.
favorites.
Yes, one of the first anime that I ever watched, and
You're welcome.
yes, thank you. With Ray Rooney Kenshin, I look at his experience fighting a kid who was actually a pretty good warrior for how young he was.
Sojiro.
Sojiro, yep. His battle with Sojiro, and he brings a knife blade down and could have cut his head off, but he stops. And he shows mercy when he could have, and it changes the entire direct trajectory of the kid's life.
Yeah, because that's Kenshin's whole shtick. For those who don't know, he's a former
Former
assassin.
manslayer.
Yeah, basically an assassin who, long story short, after fighting in a war, was disgusted with what he had to do, so he took an oath never to kill again.
Yep.
But still goes around using his sword fighting skills to help people, and occasionally fight supervillains.
Yep. So those are my 3 entries. It is coming out on Monday, so it'll be on Amazon on Monday. I have copies ordered for when I go to cons, and I do have a con this weekend, but I don't know that it's going to get here in time for me to have it at the con this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not supposed to come until next week. We'll see. Sometimes with Amazon, it's weird. You get like a box of 20, and then days later you get the rest of what you ordered.
Yeah,
so,
or everything comes super early.
Which hasn't happened as much lately. A little bit, but not as much.
I'm just thinking of, I ordered some stuff from Vistaprint. I ordered some t-shirts, because they make t-shirts now. And I got 1,000 business cards. And I wanted it before G-Fest, and initially I was like, oh, it'll arrive like the day before G-Fest. And then it's like, oh, it'll arrive the day after G-Fest. And then I got it a week before G-Fest.
Right. Yeah. So who knows when it's going to ship or anything. So I'll get it when I get it. But yeah. So I do have permission to have them out at Realm Makers this weekend if my copies come in. So otherwise, I'll have copies at later events. And we'll have copies at Gen Con.
Mm-hmm.
So they can come find your table at Gen Con, and we'll have copies there.
Mm-hmm. This is a fantastic cover, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fantastic cover.
I don't know. Let me see. Did they give us the name of the artist?
The name of the artist has been mentioned. I just don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember.
They said they have been sending us emails almost nonstop for the last probably 2 weeks.
Yep. So let me go down to my emails.
I heard them on a podcast this week where they were talking about this. Was it the Analuia podcast? I think it was what it was called.
Something like that. Yeah, I heard they were going to do it. I did not get to listen to it or watch it.
Yeah, I listened to it, and I'm going to be honest with you, most of the anime that they talked about, I either have not seen or I have never even heard of, because they like girly anime.
Yeah. They said there's over 60 or around 60 different anime represented in the book.
Mm-hmm. I forget how many contributors that they have.
Yeah, because we can't submit any more than 3 entries for it. So
yeah,
so that means there's a lot of contributors. But yeah, and they're fairly short. They didn't want us writing very long entries, and it's meant to be kind of little doses, not a big full thing. So definitely look for this on Amazon. Come see us at cons to get your copies. But yep. Then we have this other book to talk about, something that's coming up. Look at this. Somebody has his first solo book.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So this cover was done by my friend Brian Donahue. It would have been done a little bit sooner, but he had some health issues, and so we were patient, and now we have it.
Mm-hmm. So I have to ask, is this a painted cover? Is it a Photoshop?
So he has a couple of different photo stock groups he works with, and he makes sure he works with groups that do not do anything with AI. And so he got this as stock, and then that kind of did his own artful work with it.
Okay.
So I'm
this
hoping to get
almost
Brian to go live with me sometime next week to where we can talk more about the cover with him.
Okay, I was gonna say, because this looks like an actual big stone circle out in the world someplace.
I think it is. I think it's a photo of a big stone
Wow,
circle
it's a real
someplace.
place. There is the Stargates are real. It's been confirmed. Stargates are real.
We have one in Muskegon.
You do?
Yes. They just built it.
Hot diggity dang.
I know. Yeah. Next time, and Katie's excited for the book.
Yeah.
Again, you have to come back up to Muskegon, Nate.
It looks like I have to. It looks like I have to. Now, this is your book. However, I did contribute to this. I was your editor, and I helped do the interior design. That was honestly, I think that was harder than the freaking editing.
Yeah.
That was so annoying, but getting Word to cooperate so that you can properly format interior book it's so annoying at points. But I also made some suggestions for how to design the interior and the cover. I found you a Stargate font, which makes this look so snazzy. I love it.
Yes. Yep. The Stargate font is a big help with both the cover and the inside for the titles. So, and let me, because I got my proof copy, so let me go over to this view. And so here's, they have the not for resale right across the center there, just because it's a proof copy.
How
but
dare they ruin this cover?
Look at how thick the book is. I had a hard time visualizing how thick it would be, so I was pretty surprised.
So, Eric, I have to ask. So, I don't know if you had, cool. I don't know if you had this feeling when we did the first 42 book, which you actually informed me, what was it, yesterday was the anniversary for it?
No, yesterday was the 42nd anniversary of the NES.
Oh, the NES. Okay, never mind. But I wanted to ask you if opening up that package and seeing and getting this book, was that a different experience for you because it's your first solo book than when you got 42, which was technically your first book? It was just a collaboration.
I think I was more excited for this. I was excited for the first book a lot, but this, because I put so much more into it, and I put so much more into this than that one because I did the whole book. And this one is a lot more pages than that book. In fact, I held our first 242 books next to it, and it has approximately 30 more pages than the two of those combined.
Yeah.
So definitely a different kind of excitement. Like I feel like I've reached a different milestone than even that.
Yeah. I was just wondering because I remember getting the box of copies with my first book. And if anyone goes to my Worlds of Nathan Marchand channel, the first video I ever posted on YouTube was me unboxing that. And that was back before unboxing videos were cool. And you can see the genuine look of excitement on my face when I'm opening this book and I'm looking at it. I'm like, oh my gosh, look at this. It's real.
So are you saying you weren't cool back then? Is that what you're saying?
No, I said I did unboxing videos before they were cool.
Yeah.
Which means I'm extra cool because I did it before it was cool. I'm an unboxing hipster, sir.
Whatever, hipster. Now,
So that's why I had to ask, because I've talked with other writers who, where they experience these firsts, oh, I just got my
right.
first publishing deal. I just got my first copy in the mail. It's like, it's fun, isn't it?
Hmm.
So I get to kind of relive that a little vicariously,
Yeah.
because that's something you can only experience once,
Right. That's true.
obviously. You know,
Yep.
because as happy as I have been to get all of the subsequent books since then, it doesn't equal getting my first novel in the mail and be like, "Oh my gosh, I've done it." That sort of a thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It definitely was. It hit me a little differently. I don't know if it hit me harder, but it hit me differently.
Mhm.
Um, and I started writing this years ago, and then kind of lost my connection to the document and was away from it and had other things going on. And then started it back up uh, a little bit, then got away from it. And last summer, I really hit it. Really started just out, and then worked through the school year. And then you and I have just been doing the editing throughout the spring,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah, and we have been just going back and forth constantly and
mhm,
communicating, and just I've been very busy myself, so I would have to actually make myself sit down and do the work on this. I will tell you, I have edited one or two other books this year as a freelancer, which, by the way, anyone listening to or watching this, you need freelance editing work, call me. Anyway, I mean, Eric will vouch for me. That's for sure. But yeah, so you're having to constantly remind me, it's like, hey, let's get this done. Okay, locking in and doing it. And yeah, you're having to balance your
mhm,
questions and get through the formatting before G-Fest while I'm trying to get ready for G-Fest. And then you're like, wait,
right,
what about this? And I'm at G-Fest. And I'm like, switching modes, sort of a thing.
mhm,
So that was a little
and
challenging for me because
yeah,
I'm kind of, I'm trying to be in one space, but I'm getting pulled into another. So
yep,
that was kind of interesting. But I think this has been a great learning experience for you. I mean,
yes,
it's not the first time that we've done editorial work, but before that, it was something you and I did together, and now
yeah,
I'm working with you not so much as a friend, but as an editor, and having to tell you,
yep,
hey, you need to fix this and what's going on here and things like that. So it's been a different experience. So you've gotten a taste of what it's like to
mhm,
do the publication process, and formatting is something you've never done before. I haven't done it in a
definitely,
while.
yeah,
So I had to kind of relearn it a little bit, but I've been also been trying to teach you how to
yep,
do it. I may have to actually sit down and explain, okay, here's where you go into Word to make things happen because I did it for you,
well, and I have a
and then
different
help you
edition than
manage
you
it
do, I
afterward. What?
think. I think my edition of Word is different from yours, which is why
Yeah.
I had trouble getting one of the things going, is 'cause, it's a different spot with mine than yours because it's a
Yeah.
different edition.
Yeah, yeah. So that was a little bit goofy trying to manage that, and I hope we caught everything. If we didn't, we'll fix it in the second edition.
Yeah,
Something like that. But yeah, I hope so I hope it, hasn't dissuaded you from, trying to do this again in the future. And
nope,
hopefully I wasn't too harsh. I might have actually been a little bit meaner with you just because I'm like, you're my friend and I want to make sure you've got the best book out there.
yeah, I have a couple more ideas for things I could do in the future. But I think first you and I are gonna do our next 42 project.
We do. It's either going to be the next actual 42 devotional, which that's 42 prime directives. That's what we're going to do.
42 prime
Yeah,
directives.
we're
Yep.
still figuring out how that one's going to be structured and what we're going to use for it. It's all the Sermon on the Mount, which is
Yep.
really interesting.
I'm
And
excited for it.
we're also still kicking around doing a fiction spinoff, which I'm really excited about. I love this idea where we
Mhm.
take all of our, I wish I had a copy of 42, the latest 42, to show you we're going to take our cover characters and do like a mini MCU with them where they each get a solo story and then a crossover at the end.
Yeah. Yep.
And I
that's
came up with
exciting.
a fun idea for a villain for them, which I think would be really cool.
Yes. Yeah.
Have all these branching storylines, and
Well, and I
it's
think
very comic booky, and I love it.
yes, and I think having that will add a different dimension, because there may be some people who tend to read more fiction than the comparative literature that you and I do for devotionals. That may get into that, and then because of that, may take more of an interest in reading the devotionals.
Yeah, and we've had one story written already. And I have one other writer who says he'll write a story for us. It's just need to tell him go do it. And you and I are probably going to tackle the crossover, but we still need, because we have 5 cover characters, we still need writers we still need 3 more writers. So if anyone is interested, and because we've already got the Superman looking guy, which we have now dubbed Savior, because that was the old, good Lord, I kept looking up every possible name we could use for a Superman pastiche, and they are all taken. It drove me crazy. I even thought it was like, oh, Samaritan, that's cool. Is that taken? Crap. I think he's a DC character. Like, no. So we're going with Savior, because to my surprise, nobody has claimed that one. And
it's a little bit odd.
Yeah. And who's that? The Knight looking character. I think it's the Knight. Is it the Knight? I think it's the Knight has been claimed. So we still need a writer.
Was it Nick Hayden?
It was Nick, yeah. And my friend Ben Avery is going to do Savior. And we still need writers for the one I have dubbed Samurai Schoolgirl, which I insist be the title of the story because I love that name. And we need the one for the Lady Wizard, and for the one I have dubbed Future Guy.
Yeah.
Who looks like Neo from the Matrix.
For the Neo of the group.
Yeah, for the Neo of the group. And I have like some basic kind of concepts that I'm going to give to the writers, like, here, play with these.
Right.
And honestly, the Future Guy is probably going to have the darkest one, because I decided he's going to come from a dystopian kind of post-apocalyptic future. Basically, he's going to be like Bishop from X-Men.
Yeah.
Where he comes from a future where everything gets ruined, and finds out that he could go back in time and try to prevent all the bad stuff from happening. So that's just one kind of basic concept I've played with. So if anyone is interested, call us.
Like Katie, Yeah,
Kate, you want to write for a Samurai Schoolgirl? Well, throw your name into the pot right now.
Yeah. So that's a couple things we can work on in the future. Let's talk, because we did, kind of our non-spoiler thoughts for Superman. So now we're going to the spoiler thoughts. I was going to say,
speaking of Superman pastiches, speaking of Superman pastiches,
Yep, we're now going into some spoilers about Superman, just so you know. And Katie knows, because she watched it with me Saturday. So,
I would hope so.
Yes. We had a fun day. So first off, in terms of the traditional Superman cast, which character do you think was done the best of the normal Superman cast?
Normal Superman cast, I was going to say, I can tell you which character I think stole the show. Kind of unexpected. That's Mr. Terrific. Was not expecting him to be as fun and as cool as he was. But if we're talking regular Superman cast, it's probably, for me, well, I don't know. I don't know. I want to say Corn Sweat, but because he embodied Superman better than I thought.
And just so you know,
when do you need it? We'll talk.
Yep.
We'll talk. We haven't set a timeline quite yet. But anyway, so I will say I do think Corn Sweat. I think he's a worthy. He is a worthy, not successor, but he's a worthy entry in the Superman legacy in terms of on-screen portrayals. I don't think anyone. I don't think anyone can touch Christopher Reeve. Christopher Reeve will always be the definitive screen Superman for me. No offense to George Reeves, and there was a guy before that who did it in the 40s, or Dean Cain. I love Dean Cain. I have met Dean Cain a couple of times. He's a great fella. Tremendous Superman for the kind of thing that he was in. And I'll even give Henry Cavill a bone. I think he was not given the best material to work with.
Okay.
All of that. So I did like him. Brosnahan as Lois was surprisingly good.
She was good.
So
I don't remember. I mean, I know there have been, like, I remember in Justice League, the anime series, there was an episode where she was pushing Superman about some things, but that was more the other Earth and the storyline where this team on another one of the Earths had taken over. But she did a good job of actually, like, she wasn't afraid to push Superman and during her interview with him and say, I don't know if I can agree with you here.
Yeah.
And that kind of became a basis for them. And just as a side bit, while they were talking about their differences, I love that he referred to a very popular Christian rock band that made it into mainstream a little bit. He goes, I like the PODs. And
I don't know what that was. I don't know if that was the actual band POD or if that was
I don't know. I don't think in his mind it was, but it's still, for those of us who know about POD, it still brought us to them.
Yeah, I did notice that, but I wasn't sure what was going on there. Clearly, he's a much bigger fan of, like, what was it, the Killer Crabjoys or whatever?
Right, the Killer Crabjoys, their fictional band.
Killer Crabjoys, which is like a pop punk band, which Lois is like, they're too mainstream for to be punk or whatever.
And Darren, my brother Darren does a lot around the Christian music industry and the music, and there's already been a lot of talk about it online about POD being mentioned.
Oh, POD. Yeah. I actually haven't seen that.
So
so I was happy with the both of them. I might be willing to say that she probably came out the best, although Nick Holter as Lex was another surprise for me. They went full tilt sinister with him.
Oh yeah.
In this.
And I really like, because I agree with one person who said it felt like they gave us he seemed a little bit more intelligent than some of our Lex Luthors in the past have seemed.
Yeah, the thing that's weird about this movie is that it is very much entrenched in the Silver Age, the pre-crisis. Yes. For those who don't know, DC in the mid-'80s did a massive storyline called Crisis on Infinite Earths that reset their universe. It was their first big company-wide reboot. And everything was completely changed after that for all of their characters. So pre-crisis and post-crisis have very distinct flavors. This is very much entrenched in the Silver Age, which was the mid-'50s to about the early '70s or so, which were when things were sillier for DC and Marvel for the most part, especially DC.
Right.
So it's very much entrenched in that, but this is post-crisis Lex Luthor, where he's the evil corporate guy running Luthor Corp, and he's not entirely the mad scientist that he was in before that. So it's this kind of weird meshing of different eras of Superman. I would say my favorite on-screen version. Well, if we're going live action, my favorite Lex Luthor is Michael Rosenbaum from Smallville. Okay, it was brilliant. But if we're just talking about any screen adaptation, you can't touch Clancy Brown from the DCAU. You just can't. But there are very few things that can touch what was done in the DCAU.
Yes.
So
the DC animated universe.
The DC animated universe. So I would say it's probably those three, but Mr. Terrific was the surprise. I
He
would
was
say
a surprise.
I was
Yeah.
not expecting him to be as cool and
You
fun
know,
as he was.
Kate and I both came out thinking he was our favorite of the non-Superman cast.
Mhm.
And although
Nathan Fillion's Guy Gardner was pretty good too.
he was, I was just about to say Nathan Fillion, and I knew he'd do good as Guy Gardner because I knew he'd love to play a guy who's just a jerk to everybody.
People wanted him to be Hal Jordan for years, and he did get the voice Hal Jordan in an animated movie. But
Yep.
if he was like 20 years younger, I'd be like, make him Hal right now.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I thought he did great as Guy, and it was fun to see that. Now I'm really hoping
we're the Justice Gang. That's not our name.
It's not our name.
It's not.
And
our
then
name.
yeah, and I did like what they did with Metamorpho. The idea of Lex using him made sense, and just the emotion we got from him throughout the movie.
Yeah, I was worried going in that this movie was going to be overstuffed, and don't know if I would necessarily say it's overstuffed. There's a lot going on,
right?
But it is definitely, it's just throwing you in and expecting you to keep up.
Yes.
Which some would say that means Gunn trusts the audience. Perhaps he trusts them a little too much. It almost felt more like, because we don't get an origin for Superman in this. It just hits the ground running. Everything is very well established.
And I think
there have been metahumans for 300 years and blah blah blah.
And James Gunn has kind of said that, hey, I'm done with I'm tired of origin stories because we've had so many different versions of all the well-known heroes.
Yeah, and with Superman is such a part of Americana and the cultural zeitgeist. I don't think you necessarily have to retell the origin constantly because people just know. It's it's kind of like, yeah, we know Bruce Wayne became Batman because he saw his parents get shot when he was a little kid.
Yep.
We all know these things. So in that regard, it actually reminded me a bit of a DC animated movie, which is definitely made for the DC crowd.
Right.
They're usually direct adaptations of established comic book storylines. So they just figuring, if you're watching this, certain things and we don't need to explain them. Yeah. And I felt like there's a bit of that in this.
There is.
Sometimes, and for me as a comic book fan, that doesn't bother me. I do wonder sometimes how normies are going to take that. If someone just goes to the theater on a Saturday afternoon, it's like, I want something to watch. Oh, look, a new Superman movie. Are they going to be able to keep up? Because it throws a lot at you.
I think it's something they can learn to keep up with. They might have to go around and ask some friends of theirs who know comics, like, so what about this character or that character? But I don't think it will take a lot to get them caught up.
Right. It's just potentially bad storytelling if you don't give your audience important information and you assume too much on their part.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a weird balancing act that you kind of have to do.
Yep.
But speaking of that, can I talk about my really, really big gripe with this movie?
Sure.
And it's been quite the point of debate. I would love to hear what you think of this, Eric. I am not a fan of Gunn's revision of why Jor-El and Lara sent Kal-El to Earth.
Yeah.
Once that happened, I'm like, that better be fake, because that doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense. I don't quite see.
Yeah, because it begs too many questions for me. First off,
one thing I'm thinking of is,
and for those who don't know, we find out. I should probably explain this.
Yes.
For those who don't know, if you're still watching this and don't care about spoilers, Jor-El and Lara leave a message for Clark that he likes to listen to, but it was damaged, so he never heard all of it. And in the second half of the message, which Luthor finds and tries to use that to smear Superman, they tell him, we're sending you to this planet because it's populated by backward, weak beings called humans, and we want you to subjugate them. We want you to lord over them, is what they said.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, they want Kal-El to go there and be a conqueror. And that doesn't work for me. That doesn't make sense. First off, it's established that Krypton's destroyed. Krypton's not around anymore. So I'm like, what was destroying it? And if it's being destroyed and they're going to put their baby, their only child, into a ship so he can survive, why send him out to conquer when the planet's being destroyed? Like, it just begs too many questions for me. But beyond that, it's like, why would you send him to be a conqueror? Because that's
right.
I don't like this
sense.
concept. It doesn't make sense. And as someone who you were talking about going to a panel about Christ figures in films, I am one of those people who views Superman, even though there is some pushback on this now, which is kind of strange for me. I do see Superman as a Christ figure, as a character. I mean, he was created by two young Jewish guys who used Moses as a model. And you and I took theology classes in college at Taylor, and we found out that Moses is actually considered, theologically speaking, to be a forerunner to Christ.
Yep, a type.
A type.
Of Christ is
that's the funny theological term for it. So so from the get-go, it was baked into Superman's character, and as time has gone on, and he has continued to evolve as a character, and other writers have come in and they've added on to the mythos and everything, that has only gotten stronger as time has gone on. So I don't like this idea that he is sent to conquer, and he embraces his Earth parents and how they raised him, and now has decided my quote unquote divine parents wanted me to be a despot, but I am choosing my human parents who wanted me to be a good man.
Yep.
It seems to me like Gunn has decided that he wants, and it feels like a bit of an overcorrection, because if you watch Man of Steel, Snyder was trying to embrace we'll say the divine godlike aspects of Superman, whereas Gunn is going the complete opposite direction.
He even had the moment with the window in the background when he's talking to a preacher in a chapel for guidance.
Yeah, whereas Gunn is like, no, I'm going the opposite direction. I am embracing Superman's humanity, and I feel like both are missing the mark. It is it's no different than when people overemphasize the divinity of Christ, which I think a lot of Protestant Christians do, at the expense of his humanity. And then there are others who emphasize the humanity at the expense of his divinity. He's a synthesis of both. And that, for me, is the truest understanding of Superman. He is a synthesis of both his Kryptonian heritage and his
human
raising. And his the down-to-earth parents from Kansas who raised him. That's what makes Superman to me. And Gunn didn't really want to emphasize Kansas well over Krypton. Now, I could be speaking out of turn. This is meant to be the start of a new cinematic universe. I may completely change my mind about this in a couple of years, once more in case Gunn is playing a long game with this. We'll see. I don't know.
So here's kind of some questions I have about this. We know that the person who found the footage for Lex Luthor is the engineer. Now the engineer she's been kind of worked upon and has a mind to technology aspect to her. You know, she's very much a techno control character. The right word isn't popping in my mind, but that's okay. And Technopath? In the comics,
Technopath,
yeah. She's very much a technopath, and often has all sorts of machines working for her very easily. So the couple questions that I have. One is, did she mess with it in a way that feels so real that none of the analysts could see it correctly? in the
They
comics,
emphasize that it's not tampered. Even Lex
yeah,
says it's not been tampered. It's real.
they do emphasize that. But then the other question is if he decides to bring Darkseid in, is he trying to prepare things for trying to go the route with the storyline where I know they had it in the Superman cartoon in the 90s, the Superman the animated series, where Darkseid brainwashes Superman to work for him.
Yeah.
Are they trying to kind of foreshadow towards something like that?
Yeah.
I don't see, like you said, I don't really see any reason why Jor-El or his wife would actually want him to conquer. I also wonder if maybe going from Kryptonian to English, there's some sort of a language disruption.
Yeah, I've been told that they did something similar to this in the comics where it was a translation issue where it came out sounding, I want you to lord over them. Whereas, and that was more of a literal translation of the Kryptonian, whereas what was actually what they were trying to communicate, the nuance of it, the connotation of it is, I want you to lead by example.
Right.
So who knows, that could be an issue that we're dealing with here.
Well,
It's a misunderstanding.
Since, the engineer was translating it, and it's weird because he was translating it with the help of the Kryptonian technology that they got it out of. But yeah, so I don't quite understand why he, like you said, it may just have been an overcorrection. That may well be. I'm not a fan of the whole idea of, oh, hey, Superman really came here to conquer everything. That isn't. I'm like,
but then rejected. But then unknowingly, as we see, rejected that.
Yeah. So it certainly, he kind of is being set up kind of like Captain America was set up to where he has the moments when after the Secret Invasion, people don't trust Captain America.
Right.
Because he was one of the ones that was taken and one of the ones that the Skrulls made a copy of.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of wondering, he kind of has this moment to say, hey, don't look at what that said, look at what I'm doing.
Right.
And so it puts him in more of a spot to prove himself. And I think James Gunn wanted to put him into that spot of having to prove himself by his actions.
Mm-hmm. Now, I get why he did it for thematically speaking.
Yes.
But I do think it's a disservice to the character, and I think begs a few too many questions. It's just there are issues with this from a storytelling standpoint that just don't quite make sense to me.
Yep.
The other gripe I have is a much smaller one. And again, I might rethink this in a few years if the long game is able to pan out. And that's Ultraman. And no, I don't mean this Ultraman. I mean the DC Ultraman, because the DC Ultraman actually predates that one by 2 years, I found out.
Good to know.
Because, and I called it, because I'm like, this guy is displaying Superman type powers. They got into this fortress magically, even though it's supposed to only allow Superman in. I'm like, he's a clone, isn't he? Because I could tell they were not in the comics. Ultraman is an evil alternate universe version of Superman who is the leader of an evil Justice League called the Crime Syndicate.
Yeah.
All right. So he is a major player in this. And in here, he's a glorified goon for Superman, for Lex.
Yeah.
It's not unlike what, I mean, it's not as bad as this, but it makes me think of this. It's not unlike what Batman and Robin did to Bane, where he just became the big dumb muscle, whereas in the comics he's actually a very smart, calculated supervillain who did some major things to Batman, like break his back and things like that. He was a very
you don't need your back.
Character. Yeah,
that's not important.
Yeah, who needs those? But so anyway, so they bring him in, and it gets revealed that he's a clone, which I kind of called. And it's Corn Sweat with a mullet, so he looked kind of like 90s Superman a little bit there. So Corn Sweat fights himself at the end, which is kind of amusing. But once that was confirmed, all I kept thinking is, why Ultraman and not Bizarro?
Mm-hmm.
For the function that he has in this story, Bizarro would have made way more sense. I mean, you could start off by calling him Ultraman, because Bizarro doesn't sound like the name you would want to use for publicity. But then he ends up like he gets messed up at some point, or he takes the mask off and he's deformed or something. He has all the powers of Superman, but he's deformed. And then someone insultingly calls him Bizarro. And then he actually starts talking. He starts talking backwards. You're me and Bizarro.
Mm-hmm.
Me will make Superman live, which he means he actually is going to kill him.
Yep.
I was like, why not that? Why Ultraman? Because this is such a downgrade for Ultraman.
And it would have been so simple for them to say that, because they've already very well established that there's other planets out there, that there's other civilizations out in the universe. So it would have gone along with that for them to have Lex Luthor find Bizarro having crashed on Earth for some reason, or come from whatever other dimension.
No. You can still make Bizarro a clone. There are origins for Bizarro where he's a clone. That's what I would have done. He's a powerful but deformed clone of Superman.
Okay.
Which, because they said that, it's like, I found a strand of your hair and I cloned him using this. I'm like, Superman 4, anyone? Huh? Yeah, I see what you did there, Gunn. At least he's not as goofy as Nuclear Man, but
yeah.
But still, I was like, why isn't he Bizarro? Someone suggested that maybe because he gets thrown into a black hole, so maybe in a future movie he escapes the black hole and he's been messed up by the black hole, so now he is
and
Bizarro.
There you have Bizarro.
So then you have Bizarro. So, and then maybe we can have a proper Ultraman later, because I would rather, if you're going to bring in Ultraman, I want Ultraman and the Crime Syndicate to show up. How cool would that be?
How
cool would that be? Like, you do a movie where, like, you've got a Justice League, but now an evil Justice League has shown up and is going to screw everything up. And so you can have a proper Ultraman. You can have Owlman and Superwoman, and I'm trying to remember all their names. Johnny Quick instead of the Flash, and I can't remember what they have a Green Lantern, but I forget what his name is. I have to look it up. But
I just had this weird thought, but it'd be kind of hilarious to have an alternate universe. Guy Gardner comes in, who's very polite and respectful to friend, and have him butt heads with.
Yeah. Kate actually has a good point in the chat. Might want to highlight that.
There it is. I didn't see that. Okay, he may come back with the Crime Syndicate later. He fell through a black hole between dimensions, after all. So
that is true. So maybe so he goes back and he's actually smart now and charismatic enough that he could lead a team. You know, and then he's like, "Hello, Superman. You threw me into that black hole, and I came back with friends."
Yeah, I mean, and he goes there, and a scientist there kind of works with him and rebuilds his mind.
Yeah, because Lex says he's dumb. He's a combat expert because he's got all the best moves programmed into him.
And all Lex has to do is say a number for it, and he
letter and a number. Yeah, so he basically becomes an extension of Lex.
Yes,
as we see in one scene where he just keeps yelling A1, A1, or no 1A, 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 and it's just him punching Superman in the face, and he's pumping his fist when he does it. So it's like he is punching Superman.
Well, and I found it interesting in this that Lex had
deprogrammed by dimensional travel. Yeah, you could do that too. Yeah, the black hole actually doesn't screw him up; it actually fixes him, so to speak.
Yeah,
there's ways to do it. Again, there's long game stuff going on that I'm unaware of, and I may completely rethink all of this.
Yep. So, well, our time is coming to a close. Is there any? So we both have Gen Con coming up in 2 weeks.
I may or may not be at Realm Makers. I will see if I can at least come up there on Saturday.
Okay, because I don't have a badge for you right now because we haven't,
Okay.
So
That does kind of disincentivize it a
here's
little
the
bit.
thing: for you to get a 1-day Saturday pass is cheaper than for us to get you the full weekend.
Well, yeah.
So if you come up Saturday, just get. I don't know if they may raise the price for buying it on site, but right now to buy a Saturday pass online is $25
That's cheap.
for the expo. That doesn't include the writers' conference, and that doesn't include the game. So, yeah, if you're just doing the expo, it's $25. The writers' conference is like, and our tickets we get. Well, yeah, in order to go, as someone at the table, in order to go to the writers' conference as well, I'd have to pay another $240.
Okay, well,
It's a totally different ticket.
That is unfortunate. I have wanted to go to Realm Makers for a while, but
Well,
there's just too many cons going on right now.
I think you can still make some connections if you come and just go to the expo.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, so Realm Makers this weekend. We got Gen Con coming up soon. 2.5 weeks. Yep. So Gen Con.
Well, more like 2 weeks now because this is Wednesday.
Yeah, that's right. So we have 2 weeks to that. And are you going to join me in Chicago for Fan Expo? I know we talked about it, and at the time,
when is that?
August 15th through 17th. I've got a hotel room booked. You can stay with me.
As far as I know, I'm available for that.
So, but
I'll just need to double check my calendar, which is over there.
Yep. So, yeah. Is there any projects you've got coming up, or anything you want to? Anything with your podcast? Any quick,
definitely go check out my podcast, The Monster Island Film Vault, a podcast seeking entertainment and enlightenment through tokusatsu, especially if you enjoy doing academic but fun deep dives into all things kaiju and tokusatsu. I've had Eric on several times, actually.
Yes.
Yeah, you were most recently on an episode where we talked about a Norwegian movie called Troll Hunter.
Yes. Yep.
Fun times. So fun times. And yeah, so check out that and my other podcast, which is about Henshin Hero Television called Henshin Power V3, where 3 friends have 3 minutes to talk about tokusatsu. So we'll go through between 5 and 10 episodes of TV per podcast episode, but our gimmick is we only get 3 minutes to talk about each episode. Really got to know what we're doing there. And I'm part of the Scyther podcast stable of actors. You can hear me as Rito on Power Rangers, the audio drama. Of all people, Deadpool on X-Men, the audio drama, although I've only appeared once as a post-credit gag. And I'm Johnny Star, baby, on Avengers, the audio drama, whenever they do crossovers with the Fantastic Four. Although we've been joking that Johnny has kind of turned into the Nick Fury of the Scyther version of the Marvel Universe, because he just keeps popping up everywhere and talking to other characters for whatever reason. There's an episode coming up where they're going to introduce Spider-Man on the Avengers, and he has 2 scenes with Johnny because
why
not? Yeah. So give that a listen. I'm always working on new books. I will have a story in Attack of the Kaiju Volume 3, which will be coming out soon. It's called Project Artemis. And that's from Wild Hunt Press. And I should hopefully have the essay on these comics in, I believe it is Reign of the Titans, Volume 1. I think that's what that one's called. Also from Wild Hunt Press. And I'm planning on having a new, it's not going to be done by Gen Con like I wanted to, because life finds a way to screw everything up.
Right.
And so we'll have a new short story collection out. It will be called The Worlds of Nathan Marchand, Volume 2, Tales of the Lost and Lonely. It will not, these will be other unpublished short stories that I have. They are not fantasy and science fiction, with one potential exception. So they're more literary in nature. Don't know where else to put them, so I'm just throwing them onto a collection and putting them out there. Not all of them are great, but, it's material that I can have out there, and they're reflections of where I was as a writer.
Right.
When I wrote each one of them. So those are all the main things I'm doing, and I've got a lot of stuff going on with the podcast. And like hopefully I will be writing a couple of Power Ranger scripts for Scyther very soon and getting those produced. And I will be doing a special audio drama that I will for the Monster Island Film Vault that I will hopefully have out by Christmas time, because it's called Gamera Saves Christmas.
Ah, better be out by then.
Yeah.
We'll all harass you because
it's Christmas and the 60th anniversary of Gamera, why not?
So we will all mock you with Shakespearean mockery.
I dare you to try.
Okay, you spleeny fellow. So anyway, and check out all things Nerd Chapel on nerdchapel.com, Facebook, Instagram. You can find my schedule at those places. I will be hosting games at Gen Con and at Grand Con. I'm overseeing Sunday morning services at both of those events. I'll be preaching at Grand Con. At Gen Con, we have Tom Basso from the Dice Tower doing the message, as we always do. So, yeah, come talk to us at Gen Con. Talk to me at any of the cons I'm going to be at. And thank you for joining us.
See ya.